Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Detour podcast, where we talk all things related to the topic of unconventional success and upcomings. I'm your host, Gary Fan, a community college alumni with aspirations of becoming a world-changing business owner. This episode marks episode 8 within the first season of the podcast. And today, I'm joined with a very special guest, the CEO of Twiine, a mobile app that utilizes AI to help couples plan unique and memorable dates, Bryson Manalang. Hello, Bryson. What is up? It's awesome to have you finally on the podcast. Do you mind telling the audience a little bit about who you are as a person? I know you had a very unconventional path with like this whole college thing. So tell us a little bit about yourself, what you used to major in, and what you're doing now.
Yeah, sure thing, Gary. Honor to be here. So I was going to Mount Sac, right, for my first 2 years. And I actually moved to Irvine, and I was pursuing business economics. But I had the intention of actually being, I believe it was an investment banker at the time. I really wanted to be on Wall Street, but stuff's pivoted. So,
Yeah.
so it wasn't until I actually met you, which is when I decided to get into startups. So I believe when we first met, it was like 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years, something like that. When we first entered college, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
That ABL event.
Yeah, that ABL event. Wow, that's definitely awesome. I didn't know that you wanted to be an investment banker at first, because I was like, dang, after meeting you, it was like startups on startups on startups. I remember I was just thinking about this when I was setting up and everything. I was like, dang, Bryson wanted to build this political app and stuff like that.
Poly Connect. Yeah.
Connect.
So
Okay.
it was actually Alan's idea. So
Yeah.
we kind of bounced back on him. I joined him on the leadership team in order to develop that. But we just couldn't get things going with that. So after that, that's when I took my initial learnings from it, and I kind of improved upon that, and I built up around 2 or 3 startups that failed, but then now I think I'm onto something that's a little bit bigger.
Definitely a lot bigger. I like it, but it's definitely awesome to see your growth throughout the past 2 years, right? I've met you and only known you for 2 years, and to see how far you have come, it's definitely awesome. I love just watching people grow, and from when you were that event where I saw you in ABL 2 years ago, it was a different Bryson, and now you're evolved, you've definitely leveled up. But how is that process of leveling up? Because I remember, like I mentioned, you had a very unconventional journey to where you are today, right? So how did you get from where you were 2 years ago to where you are now?
I feel like it was a lot of exposure and trial and error that I had to do. So with those first 2 startups, right, it wasn't necessarily an idea I was passionate about, but I thought it was an idea that can help fix things. So working on those, I kind of realized that these are great products, but I don't feel any sort of attachment, which is why I was kind of holding myself back to working its full potential. And I was also balancing school at the same time and also managing a really good social life. And managing school, social life, and a startup, it's a hell.
Yeah.
It honestly is one of the worst feelings, right? Because you're so overworked. You're putting in around 80 hours a week of balancing out all these things. But once I dropped out of college, right, that's when I was able to dedicate 60 to 80 hours a week on work and also maintain a pretty good social life.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's that.
That's awesome, but it's kind of scary to hear that too, because I've had a few of the guests previously before you who've talked about their dropout experience or taking a gap year or semester to really focus on who they are as an individual before hopping back into school. So how is that process of dropping out for you because I know everyone has a different story of why they drop out, and do you also plan to get back into school after this break, I guess you would say?
Good question. So I would say, to answer your second question, I might get back into school, but I really want to see how far I can take this startup. And right now we're putting in a lot of work. We've grown our team of volunteers from, I'd say, 4 to 12, and we also manage an offshore team at the moment.
Wow.
So We have technically over a team of around 30. So
Wow.
yeah, so
That's awesome, man. Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
so that's that.
Mhm.
So I would probably go back to school though. If I fail, then sure, school's
Mhm.
always a backup option.
Yeah.
Starting off though,
Yeah.
I was very hesitant of it. So what I did was instead of dropping out entirely, I started putting more time into my startup company,
Mhm.
and I started dropping class by class by class. And then all of a sudden I just pulled the trigger. I said, you know what, I'm going to work on this company full time. And the trigger point of that moment for me was when I received, I believe it was our first funding check from an actual interested investor. And we got a small amount, but it kind of proved to us that, okay, someone really believes in the vision. We can go ahead and take this. And that check was for around like $3,000. So that we turned out $3,000, and we've been using it towards offshore development and towards also a lot of our, I would say, development expense. Not really a development expense. It's more like design software and stuff like that, but we have to pay them monthly.
Yeah.
So once we received that check, right, that was the turning point. I said, okay, I need to start hiring some people. We need to start doing some stuff, right?
Yeah.
This is much more than an idea. This
Yeah.
is going to be a company. So it was at that moment I was like, okay, let's pull the trigger. Talking to my parents about it was not that easy.
I would imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. So they were on my case. They said, all right, well, no, you're not going to be able to do that. I started off with the excuse saying, you know what, I'm going to have a gap semester. And then a semester turned into 2 semesters, but there was more company traction. So it kind of was at that point where I said, you know what, once I take this gap semester, I'll go back into college, mom. But after I showed a little bit of traction with the company and also a lot of investor interest and also team interest, then she started to slowly change her mind. But always at the back of her head, she's saying, go to college when you're ready. So,
Yeah.
and luckily because of community college, it makes it a very easy entry for me to get back into it and continue the transfer process that I was doing.
Yeah. Dude, that's awesome to hear, like the traction that you've built throughout, your time dropped out of college, I guess you can say, right?
Yeah.
It's I don't know, it's something that I think is amazing to hear, because I feel like dropping out has like this really negative connotation to it. Everyone considers like a dropout as, someone who doesn't like really have a life, couch potato, but I feel like you define like dropping out as kind of the opposite, getting your life together and figuring out, I guess, the next steps for you. It's like the next steps towards bettering your company, right, for Twiine. And I think it's definitely, I mean, being in like your shoes, if I were in your shoes, I'd be like scared as hell, of dropping out and telling like my mom too. So what was like the mindset behind that? Because I feel like mindset and like being scared and like being very hesitant plays like a big factor on pulling that trigger. So explain to us how pulling that trigger was like for dropping out of college.
It was kind of like a poker game. I would explain it. So you had to be very confident with the decision you were making, and you have to kind of lie a little bit and say, that's why I decided to take the easy route and say, I'm going to take a semester break right now. And I used the excuse that COVID learning wasn't it for me.
Yeah.
And realistically, it wasn't. For someone that loves to network, for someone that loves to talk to other people, I wasn't really learning too much.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a part of the educational system, right? The learning process is not directly from you and the teacher. It's also from the environment of the classroom. So when you're talking to these other people, you get different insights, you get different opinions, and you just get to connect more, right? So it's overall beneficial for your social well-being. So, sorry, I know I off-tracked.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Detour, all part of the podcast, bro.
Good. So, yeah, pulling that trigger, it was very nerve-wracking, but I had to have a very confident face. I had to show her traction. So all that was going through my mind is saying, I'm going to do it, but this has to work, right? Or at least I have to show her that it's working. So throughout that entire process, even to this day, right, I have to tell myself, wake up in the morning and tell myself, hey, you have to make this work. You have to explain or show the people who really wanted you to go to college why this is a good decision for you. So even to this day, my mom's a little bit more chill about it because she sees constant everyday traction. Like I'm constantly on meetings around 10, I'd say maybe 10 to 12 hours a day.
Wow.
Right.
That's crazy.
It's a really hectic process. So my mom sees that, my dad sees that as well. But at the back of my mind, even though they see it, I want to actually prove it to them now.
Yeah.
So it's really become more of a seeing to doing sort of mindset. So
that's awesome. And that just makes me really grateful that you're here for an hour and a half, 2 hours, because I know that takes away from the 10 to 12 hour meetings that you have. So thank you for being here again.
No worries. Today's my off day.
Thank you. But no, I think that's definitely awesome how you built this traction, and from there it's like, okay, I have something to prove and whatnot, right? And I feel like it's, I don't know, it's amazing to hear, because I don't personally know anyone who is in this startup phase aside from you, and I feel like a lot of the listeners out there are pretty unfamiliar, since like I don't think a lot of people within our age group are heavily invested in this startup idea. It's maybe a small fraction of people, but how is that process like, if you don't mind explaining how it's like to build a startup and get it to where it's at now?
Yeah, so I mean, even where we're at right now, right? It's not a lot compared to the long road ahead.
Yeah.
So it really all starts out with an idea, and then it's got to be an idea that you're attached to, or you really see a future to. So after you have that idea, you sort of just have to say, okay, well, is this a design? Is this a service? What do I have to do? You have to operate that original idea you had into a smaller scale sort of MVP. I would say not really even an MVP. It's like a really, really janky.
Wait, MVP as in most value player?
Sorry, minimal value product.
Gotcha.
So, minimum viable product. Sorry. So, like for my case, right?
Yeah.
To build an AI that sort of plans dates for couples, what I actually had to do was I had to manually plan dates for couples and see if they like the things I sort of recommended, and see if collecting all this data the same way my AI does now is a very valuable method for planning these dates for couples. So we operated that at a small scale, and we did it for around 100 people, 200 people, and then that's when it became, okay, this is too much for me to do. So I started hiring someone else. We started growing a team to do it, and we started automating the process into building it into a system. So we then did email campaigns. So we would have people test a link on our website, and then you say, hey, go ahead and plan a date with whoever you want, right? And you can send those date plans over to them, and they can say yes or no.
Yeah.
And then we kind of just said, okay, well, let's actually build this onto an app, because it seems like the problem nowadays is date nights are kind of getting crappier, if you think about it. And I feel like a part of the problem is because of dating apps. And I've used dating apps since I was, as soon as I turned 18, I hopped on to like Tinder, Hinge, Bumble and stuff just to experience what it was like. And what I found was that the conversations that you have are superficial. You know the person at a superficial level, and you don't really ask the right questions for them to know what they like and what they don't like. And if you do ask them on the spot, they forget. So they only tell you like a fraction of that, just to keep the conversation going. So what we decided to do was we decided to tackle that problem. We said, okay, well, based on what we provided with our cool idea, this is a problem that we can tackle to solve. And from here on, we decided, okay, we're going to build out an app. So we started building out MVP, the minimal viable products. And we started issuing out designs. And even to this day, we're testing out what sort of designs people prefer over another, right? Which specific button are they going to prefer clicking? Are they really going to use this feature even? So we've probably gone through around 12 different design iterations. And that's not even to start development, right? And we're scheduled to start development, I'd say, hopefully by the end of this month,
Mm-hmm.
so then we can get our seed round of funding.
Yeah.
So
Damn. I'm definitely looking forward to the end of the month then, man. That's
so am I.
No, that's awesome because I think the way you explained it, it's like you had this vision at the macro level and now you're trying to bring it to the micro level with like the nitty-gritty like details that you have. Like for instance, you said the little buttons that people click on, right? It all started with the idea of wanting to, solve this problem within the dating like industry, I guess, right? Because
Mhm.
that's one of the main reasons that you started Twiine, right? It's because, like you mentioned, in high school or after, like you turn 18, right? It's the problem of having these superficial like conversations with others, and that's something that you wanted to fix, right?
Yeah, that's something that I wanted to fix, and I felt like even people that were a little bit more on the antisocial side, such as me,
Mm-hmm.
um, we're not good at asking questions, right? We're not good at conversing with another person,
Yeah,
especially someone we find attractive.
yeah,
So you start asking the wrong things, or you just try to get to
facts.
know them at a level where it's like, okay, they're comfortable with me, right?
Hmm.
Now I got to figure out what they like.
Yeah.
And Gary, if I were to ask you, like, what kind of foods do you not like off the top of your head?
I don't like dragon fruit.
Is that all?
Uh,
See, there's a lot, right?
yeah, there is a
there's
lot.
there's a lot. So we figured, okay, well, there's got to be a smoother way for us to sort of surface all of that information
Yeah.
from someone, and we're trying to develop that on our application and our AI data gathering process.
Hmm.
We're actually looking to make it more fun and kind of subconsciously develop a person's interests and their dislikes and implement that onto their personal profiles.
Hmm.
Because not only is it maybe it's not just your date planning ability that's
Yeah.
kind of crap, it's also because people are indecisive and they don't really know what they want.
Hmm.
So that's another side of the problem that we're trying to solve.
Mm. Wait, that's really interesting. So, how you're kind of tackling this issue is through, I guess, artificial intelligence (AI), right? With um, having a profile or helping people who want to get into like the dating like life, like helping them out with their profiles through AI, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so we help them out with their profiles,
Mm-hmm.
and ideally the entire concept of the app revolves around your profile and also your significant other's profile, right? Or a friend that you want to have one-on-one time with.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone's profile is extremely important because we're collecting all the information what you like and you don't like, and we're using that to recommend it to places that are specifically curated for you and
Wow.
your partner.
Yeah.
So then you don't have to go do that asking, hey, you want to go here? You
Yeah.
want to go there? And then they're like, no, I don't really like,
Yeah.
I don't like seafood. I don't like Mexican food. And then you're here like, okay, well, let me go think of places that are
Mm-hmm.
not seafood and Mexican food, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's an
That's
entire process that we're trying to get rid of.
that's cool. No, like I think a lot of innovative ideas nowadays are revolved around the concept of time, right? Like you want to eliminate the time that you need to do X, Y, and Z so that the process is faster, right? Think of Amazon delivery systems, Uber Eats and stuff like that. Everything's just like cutting down time for you, right? So I feel like that's definitely awesome how you're attacking, I guess, the dating field with, cutting down that time that you need to, like plan out a date and stuff like that. So that's definitely awesome, man.
Thank
Is that like your niche and the thing that makes your dating app different from Bumble, Tinder, Hinge, and all the other apps?
Yeah, so that is our niche. But in addition to those, another thing that separates us
Mm-hmm.
is we rely on people who are already established couples
Yeah.
or they're already matched from these platforms like Tinder, Hinge, Bumble, and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we want them to kind of shift away from Yelp, Google Maps, and hop onto our platform, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it just makes it easier.
Yeah.
So we provide you all these places that are curated for you and your match,
Mm.
and you just go, right?
Yeah.
And you let us know how it is. And the one thing that we kind of like toying at is that our AI builds more. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Our AI grows as your relationship grows, because as you're able to go on more dates. And if you like the places, you don't like the places, our AI grows with you in terms of that knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So we can start recommending places that are even more unique, more memorable,
Mm-hmm.
and all in all, a very simple app to use.
Yeah.
So,
Damn, that's so awesome. So it's like, let's say, that's. I'm just taking like a moment to like sink into that. That's definitely cool, because, no, I can definitely agree that most apps out there are very, not it. It's very hard to maintain like a relationship, even if like you're on there just like to make like a new friend. It's, I don't know, it's very hard to get into like the nitty gritty of like who they are as a person, like beliefs and all that stuff. But I guess, okay, I remember the question that I was gonna ask, like to follow up everything, was, are like, how does like the matchmaking system work? Are you you said you're rematching couples from other apps, or like is it the same thing where like you're swiping left, swiping right, or how's that matchmaking system?
so we actually don't have a matchmaking system, which is a unique thing. So
Wow.
what you do is you would ideally add, let's say that you have a profile on this app, I have a profile on this app. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just going to send you over a friend suggestion.
Yeah.
And then that's how it's going to build onto our connected contacts list.
Mm-hmm.
And from that connected contacts list, that's when the AI kicks in and it starts laying out
Wow.
all of the dates, everything that you can do with each other that you guys
Mm-hmm.
would both like.
Yeah. Wow. Wait, that's so cool. So you're kind of eliminating the fact that you don't have to go through that tedious like swipe, 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 and it's already like provided for you.
Yeah, well, it's already provided for you because what we're expecting once you hop onto this app is you have someone that you want to spend time with.
Yeah.
Whether they're, let's say you and I want to go have some bro time, right?
Yeah.
So let's go. We hop onto this app and we say, you know what? Let's go hang out, right? I'm gonna go ahead and suggest. I'm going to have the open up the app. The AI is going to suggest a bunch of places. I'm going to send these plans over to you. You
Yeah.
can choose to accept it or deny it. And if you accept it, then it'll mark it. It'll schedule all the dates, everything for us. So it's pretty much our personal assistant,
Mm.
right? And let's say we get bored during these hangouts, right? Well, one thing that we're looking at building is we're actually going to integrate games into it. So it
Wow.
provides an even more interconnected experience while you're hanging out or while you're going on a date.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Wait, that's so cool. So now it's like a more broader app than just dating, right? Like you don't need it to, or what's it called? It's a more broader app in a sense where you're using it to hang out as well, just with friends and stuff too, right?
right. So, one of the concepts that we do heavily believe in is boundaries, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, sometimes dates are just hangouts, right?
True.
And people don't seem to establish that before they go out. And we honestly believe at Twiine that you should.
Mm-hmm.
So we give users the option saying, hey, is this a date or hangout?
Wow.
And if it's a hangout, we recommend more casual options. But if it's a date, we recommend things that are a little bit more romantic options, but
Mm-hmm.
also curated on your guys' match preferences.
Yeah.
But we do like to stress and emphasize ourselves overall around the dating industry.
Mm-hmm.
So, because we really want these people that are going on Hinge, Tinder, and Bumble to step up their superficial relationships and
Mm-hmm.
really hop into a much more fun in-person experience,
Yeah.
which is what's lacking on those apps right now.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that, because it's like, I don't know, I don't feel like I can ever have like a genuine conversation on like the dating apps like
You
nowadays.
can't. It's really about the in-person one-on-one talking that you feel this connection.
I agree. I have like many friends too who have been on apps, and they've told me the exact same thing. It's like, man, I wish I could just like call like, or something that's like more personal, I feel like texting isn't the way to go, like it's so dry, it's so superficial. It just feels like, it's not real. Like if it doesn't feel like I'm genuine on there, and I feel like that in person, like what's it called, that in person experience that Twiine provides, it solves that. So I'm
Right.
definitely excited to see what Twiine has to offer in the coming months, I guess.
Awesome. I have to say I'm pretty excited too.
Yeah.
So-
No, of course you would be, right? I mean, that's
gotta
definitely
be.
awesome. But I feel like I've geeked out on how your process has been with Twiine, but I guess stepping back to ask a more in-depth question.
Yeah.
I know that you've talked briefly about like this purpose or like this mission-based thing, right? You felt like the past two startups that you've had so far, it didn't really click with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I resonate with that a lot in terms of a mission based career, I guess you can say. Would you say that Twiine fulfills that mission based career that you've been looking for or yearning for within, these past few years?
I would say for me, it does fulfill that because I'm someone that loves to go hang out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And whenever it comes to group settings or just hanging out with friends, I'm the one that loves to take charge and I love asking everyone, what do you like to do? What do you not like to do?
Mm,
And then we just put that all together into one fantabulous hangout, right? So
yeah.
that's something that I've always liked doing, and I thought there's got to be an easier process.
Mm-hmm.
So this problem that we're solving and this product that we're developing really resonates with me personally, and I feel
Right.
like for anyone, right? You're talking about career-driven missions. I feel like for you to really enjoy what you're doing and really be happy, you should be pursuing this mission based experience, whether that be the company that you want to build or the
Mm-hmm.
career you want to go through. If you really want to cut someone up and save someone's life and you love that feeling,
Mm-hmm.
pursue it,
Yeah.
right? So that's what I'm seeing a lot of people do, especially that
Mm-hmm.
are our age,
Yeah.
that are not necessarily going that route. They're actually deviating from that and they're going for the more salary heavy routes,
Mm,
uh, which I mean, I'm kind of sad about because I would
me
ask them,
too.
like, what do you really want to do with your life? And someone says, I want to be a chef. And then I'm like, okay, so what are you doing in electrical engineering? I mean, that's great, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this one particular friend of mine, right,
Yeah.
who'll be cooking every single day, he'll be prepping and he'll actually be styling his plates.
Mm-hmm.
And once he hops into the classroom, he starts bantering, he starts ranting. But I've
Mm,
never seen him so happy unless he's behind a frying pan, right? And he loves to develop these unique meals and these really cool cuisines. So,
right.
and I think I get where he's getting at because I feel like society nowadays is deviating away from, okay, do what's most money driven
Mm,
and focus on your passions as a second. And I
yeah.
really think it should be switched.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. No, I feel the same way, and I'm so glad that like we can resonate on the same thing together because that's something that I've always been um, driven towards. I feel like passion driven or mission driven based startups and mission based driven careers, it's something that I've always been like an advocate for, like exactly what you mentioned. Like why are you, you know, let's say why are you doing computer science when you really want to be like an actor, like it's the idea of deviating for like money. I
mhm.
feel like it's something that not a lot of people sadly a majority of the people like choose money over like passion or like their dreams or like what they want to actually do, and it's this idea of stability too, right? So I guess a follow-up question to um what you just stated is what is more important to you or what would you rank like the importance, um what's it called? I'm losing my train of thought. But what would you rank these three things in order of like it's money, your like passion or drive,
Mhm.
and stability. So what would you rank those like by and on a scale?
Good question. Number one for me is definitely got to be passion. Number two would be stability. Number three would be money.
Mm-hmm.
Because as long as you're working on your passion, right, you're going to be happy, right? So, since I dropped out of school, uh, I've been having to work part time. So I work part time on the weekends in order to fund my company
Mm-hmm.
until we reach our seed round goal. So I put in extra around like 20 hours on the weekends just so I can go ahead
Wow.
and put money into my startup. And that's that stability kind of standpoint, but it really backs up my passion,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you want to pursue your passion and you don't have a plan B, sort of like, or not really a plan B, but some sort of stability at the time, then your passion's not going to work,
Mm-hmm.
right? The money part, don't even worry about that, right?
Yeah.
If my company goes down and we build a successful product and we don't make any money, that's fine. I
Mm-hmm.
got to do what I love to do,
Mm-hmm.
and I got to show people that I can actually develop a product.
Yeah.
And I love that. So I feel like that should be the case for everyone. Money, don't even worry about that stuff. Right?
Yeah.
Like for me, I personally have pretty expensive tastes. Like
Mhm.
I love the nice cars, I love jets, I love yachts. But if I can't have them, that's great. I mean, that's okay. Um, I I just really want to work on this company, and I want to
Mhm.
solve a problem that's I'm really passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, no, I can definitely resonate with like the whole entire mission, stability, money, like scale ranking. For me, um, a, a real big reason why I pursued or why I am pursuing like this business industry is because I feel like there is like this massive problem with everyone just fixated on the idea of money, right? I feel like it's such a big problem that drives everyone like AWOL. I don't remember the saying, but I don't know. It's bizarre to me because it's like I was always taught growing up. I was always taught to care for others. I was always taught to not take advantage of other people, and I feel like business really, or the term businessman, right? What you get from that is a very negative like connotation, right? It's like, oh, someone that abuses like power, money, money hungry, and I feel like like entering the industry, it's like, dang, like I didn't know. Like at first, I was so surprised. I was like, there's no way, like it can't be like this for a majority of like businesses. But the sad reality for me was that it was, a lot of companies nowadays. If you look it up on Google too, the number one um, goal for companies is to make profit. And I feel like it was so sad for me, and that's why I wanted to make an impact within the business industry and I guess changing the idea, the incentive of, a mission-based driven company, something that people can deviate from money with, right? So that's something like that I really love when like I hear other entrepreneurs or other people in general just speaking on their behalf of um, a mission-based like idea, mission-based goal, something that's different from money, because I feel like that's something that heavily impacts a lot of people nowadays. Like money, like it drives everyone apart sometimes, right?
I agree with you. So I feel like what businessmen nowadays should be praised for is creativity.
Yeah.
Creativity and ideation, right? Really trying to make the world a better place. So
I love that.
what I see a lot of startups are doing now is they're shifting from a more monetary based sort of model to more mission based models. So
Yeah.
I have some friends who are CEOs as well of like electric car companies, electric transportation companies, and they really don't make a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
But what incentivizes them to work aside from pursuing this passionate idea is that the government is actually paying for a portion of their companies or buying their products. So I think that's kind of a good thing that our government is sort of supporting those companies that are going for a more eco-friendly, really trying to make the world a better place type of company. So I'm kind of appreciative of that.
Yeah.
I wish that they go onto mobile apps and start funding those as well.
True.
I feel like businesses always start with a very mission-based idea.
Yeah.
But what sort of turns them into a money hound is kind of investors. Because if you think about it, the term businessman, when you think of businessman, you think of some dude in like a suit with some stripes and some big old guy with some like white hair, or he's bald.
Yeah.
Right. And it shouldn't be that way, right? But when I picture businessman, I picture someone like Steve Jobs. He's been my idol. I love him in turtlenecks and his I forgot what he wears. Was it Reeboks or something?
I've definitely seen you in turtlenecks though, so
Yes.
I see where it comes from now.
That's where it comes from. But he's a man of pure idea. Now, he wasn't the nicest guy, but he strived for making the world a lot simpler and making people think different overall. So he valued ideas, and valued his vision a lot. So I think if you were to describe a businessman to me, it would be that guy. And
Yeah.
we would sort of need to. I feel like we should be paid for developing a really good idea for a really good cause.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. And I think something that you said that really stood out to me was how you saw what a businessman in your eyes was, right? I feel like it's the idea of having a vision for what you want to be in the future that's super important, that drives who you become as a person, right? For me, it's, I don't know, this world changing business owner, who like has this business revolving around sustainability and I guess repairing like the world in its like entirety, whether that be climate change or just like this problem like equity, and social equity as well. It's like all these problems, and I have this vision of businessmen like actually changing the world like one day, right? And that's my vision of what a businessman will be in the future. And I feel like for you, it's this creative person. Like businessmen should be paid for like their creativity, and like I think that's beautiful, because it's like we're painting a new picture for what businessmen should be like, and by us acting upon our visions and our dreams, we're changing, like slowly but surely changing how others like younger than us will view the idea of a businessman, so
Right. Actually, I think what you were describing right now should not just limit ourselves to businessmen. It should be centering ourselves as a population,
yeah,
right? So I don't think it's just businessmen that are responsible
yeah,
for change. It's anyone is responsible for change.
very
Anyone
true.
that has an idea and wants to pursue that to make others happy, to make the world a better place. Honestly, if other people are happy, the world is becoming a better place. So if they focus themselves on that, then I think we would be painting a better ecosystem for our society
Yeah,
as well.
I think the phrase, what's it called, making a world a better place. I really love that phrase, and as cheesy as it may sound, I feel like it's just a beautiful statement that I wish like one day we can achieve. And I guess, do you think we will be able to achieve that one day, where I guess our society, the world, operates on this idea of beloved happiness? Everyone has this idea of wanting to build a mission based um, career, and everyone strayed away from the idea of having money like drive them.
As much as I want to say yes, we have to come to the reality that it might not be.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because people's sides and differences. I mean, the fact that we split into vaxxers and anti-vaxxers, I don't want to hop onto that subject.
Yeah, no
But
worries.
that's an example of saying, can we make the world a better place? Right?
Yeah.
And can we all come to the same conclusion that doing and taking all of these extreme radical ideas in every single possible direction, is that going to make everyone happy? And the reality is no. Because as much as you create something, right, with Twiine, right, it's going to benefit those that actually have this issue. But for those that don't have this issue, they're going to sleep on it, or they're just going to hate on it, right? And that's normal with any business. You're going to get haters. So, what was I trying to get at? So, no, it's not going to be a better, happier place. But as much as we wish to, we can at least try to make it better than when we came in.
Yeah. And we're definitely taking like the necessary precautions to work towards like business, like bettering business for like the betterment of the world too, right? And like you mentioned, any career as well, I feel like we're hopping on this train of, building the world to be a better place, which I think it's just like a beautiful statement. I like personally love nature, as like I told you before, like we started our podcast, and I feel like building a world where we can coexist with it like is definitely something that's beautiful, and something I hope to see in the future too. But I guess since we're running out of time here, I have a few last questions for you. So the first one would be, what advice would you give someone who's contemplating dropping out, and what precautions or steps you would advise them to take before dropping out, like building a plan or whatnot? And the next one would be, what advice would you give to someone who's wanting to turn their idea into reality by building a startup?
Yeah, so for the first question, I would recommend don't talk to anyone about your plans because dropping out, it's a very controversial opinion. And when I started talking to my friends about it, they were kind of against it. But seeing where I am now, they said, okay, we were wrong, right? And your friends they're going to crap on you. Your family is going to crap on you as well. But all I can say is if you have that vision in place and you have at least a plan for the next couple of months after you drop out, try to take that bullet. But make sure you have a backup plan as well, because you don't want to drop out and be completely lost in the weeds, because getting back from that, it's actually going to be very hard. And especially nowadays with jobs requiring a college degree and stuff, make sure that you dropping out, it's either going to disrupt it in a very powerful way, or at least you're going to fail, but in a pretty, I'd say you would fail. Let's say if you fail, right? You would fail, but people would know about your failure and they'll try to get you back up.
Yeah.
So you should support yourself with a more professional group of friends that are there to help you as well. Build out your networks during that time you drop out.
Yeah. And then how about that second question for someone who wants to, someone who has a dream and wants to turn it into reality by building a startup? What advice would you give personally to that? Because I know you're like the startup guy. So
I love startups. So if you want to build a startup, if you're listening and you want to build a startup, what I recommend is honing that idea out, asking people what their pain points are that your product is about to solve, right? Ask them about those pain points and see if it matches up with what your product provides. And if it does, that's part of your market validation. Congrats. Then you can go ahead and build a very simple product that encompasses what your product's going to do at like a 10% capacity. Once you do that, then hopefully you can either get funding or you can just bootstrap, just like what I did, and go through until you get a pretty large check for funding. So
yeah, dang, that's awesome. And just for all the viewers out there who are interested in Twiine, what's the ats, or what's your little plug that you'd suggest for everyone to go check out?
The ats. To be honest, we haven't built out our social medias that well.
Yeah.
And because we're in closed beta testing, we have people that want to try out the test, they would have to directly message me. So I guess if you want to try out the app, you can directly message me or follow the @twiine.co page on Instagram.
With 2 eyes, right?
With 2 eyes.
Two
right?
eyes.
They recommend interconnectivity between individuals.
I like that. I like that. That's awesome. Well, I mean, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the podcast. I'd like to thank you again, Bryson, for joining us today on the podcast. If anything within today's podcast resonated with you in any way, feel free to share it across all social media platforms and tag @detour.podcast. Also, again, if you'd like to follow Bryson with his Twiine journey, go ahead and follow @twinewith2eyes.co on Instagram. Again, thank you guys for all the love and continual support. I'm your host, Gary Fan, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace out.